Hello there, my name is Martin Henley. This is the Effective Marketing Content Extravaganza. And if this is your first time here, you couldn't possibly have the first clue that I am on a mission to give you everything you need to be successful in your business, providing, of course, what you need to be more successful in your business is to know more about and be implementing more efficiently, more enthusiastically, and more effectively sales and marketing in your business, which is, of course, what you need. You need more customers more profitably, and eventually everything you need to do that will be right here on this channel. So what goes on is I'm giving you everything you need to know about marketing, everything I know that I can give you that you need to know about sales and marketing. That's the What the Series that happens on a Monday. On a Tuesday, I bring in anyone I can find with experience to share with you if you are looking to be more successful in your business. That's Talk Marketing. Every other Wednesday, Melanie Farmer comes along and we look at the marketing news and speculate wildly about what that might mean for you in your marketing life, in your marketing career. And on the other Wednesday, I do marketing reviews so you don't have to. On a Thursday, I'll be here thinking out loud. And on a Friday, we respond to the very best and the very worst of marketing content on the internet. So if that sounds like it might be interesting and useful, please tell me it does, because we're only here to be interesting and useful. Now would be a great time to like, share, subscribe, and comment, because that will give us the motivation that we need to continue on this epic, epic journey. So today is that other Wednesday when Melanie Farmer comes along and we look at the marketing news and speculate wildly about what it might mean for you in your business, in your marketing career. So here we are after her mammoth Christmas break. It is the concierge of co-creation at Crazy Might Work. It's Melanie Farmer. Good
You're
afternoon,
making me
Melanie.
tired. Wow, what a promise. There's so much amazing content, Martin. Good for you. Good for you.
We are trying, Melanie Farmer. It's not a very English thing to do, to be seen to be trying, but we are trying. We don't care who knows it. We don't care. How are you, sister, after your mammoth Christmas break? It's summer holidays as well as Christmas, isn't it, in Australia? That's kind of what happens.
Yeah, yeah, and I've spent a couple of weeks really smashing out a lot of gardening. I know things about how to grow herbs and ones that are legal in case anyone's wondering. But maybe I'll move on and to advanced herbs later. But yeah, I've got this amazing herb garden, and all my tiles are looking beautiful. I'm ready for summer barbecues and so forth. So it's
Fantastic.
been a great holiday and lots of times sitting on beaches and just hanging out.
Yes, because this was your promise before you went away, is that you were going to do absolutely nothing. After we saw what was going on in Tasmania, you have the opportunity to go to, not you, but everyone has the opportunity to go to Tasmania and do absolutely nothing, look like you're dead when
That's
your children
that's
need to be taken care of. So did you?
that's right. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So I
So
did that. Took that advice. Did very little apart from the gardening. That's when I got kind of active, but I feel good for it.
fantastic. Excellent. Cool. So we start typically with a little boast. Do you have a boast? I mean, have you,
Oh,
is
that
that
will be it. My herb garden, that's a boast because I will say because I spent a year killing the original one, and now
right?
I went and actually asked questions at a plant nursery and learned why I killed the first one, and now I feel like I know things. Not enough to be really dangerous, but so my boast is I have planted herbs. Look at me go.
Fantastic. And so you willfully killed these things, or was it through ignorance and negligence that you killed
Total
the original thing?
ignorance.
Okay, good.
Yes, overwatering, no feeding, feeding the wrong thing, and it didn't help that we had two floods and a drought in 1 year. So
Doesn't help.
the guy at the nursery said to me, "Don't take it personally. Everyone's herbs have died." I'm like, "Okay,
Okay, good. All right. Well, don't take it personally, but don't willfully kill the plants. That's not
no,
good.
no, no."
Okay, my boast is I think my desk is nearly finished. I'm really happy with it. All the lights, all the cable, everything seems to be here. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. You've experienced this already. This is my amazing overhead camera for when I actually feel the need to draw pictures on my, which I think is astounding. So I've got the camera I want here. I've got the camera I want here. I've got, everything is just amazing. It's just amazing. It's finished. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life now that it's finished. There was another boast. I've lost 5 kg since the last time we spoke, so that's good. I'm trying to lose some weight.
Wow.
I've taken up tea. I haven't drunk caffeine for 20 years, so you can imagine now with that tiny little bit of caffeine, I'm going at 1,000 miles an hour all day, every day. So that's good news. We've got a very a real plan for what's going to happen with the content here. I am really weirdly excited and motivated for 2023. I think it's going to be important. I think I'm going to write a book this year. I've told you about my book, haven't I? The Answer is Listening. So I think I'm going to get that done this year. I think I'm weirdly excited about 2023. While the world goes to shit, I think I'm going to be all right. That's how I feel.
That is awesome. Best boast ever. That's the
Yeah.
best boast this year, Martin. Good job.
Yeah, it's my only boast so far of the year. How are you feeling about 2023?
I'm really excited. I've started my master's degree in biomimicry. For those who don't know, that is emulating nature's genius. It is completely blowing my mind on a daily basis because we're just diving into a lot of case studies right now. So yeah, it's nice to kind of think about lifelong learning. I haven't studied since 2011, so it's really nice to go back to it and just be investing in learning again in a subject that's so weird and new.
Mm,
Um, and Yeah, and I'm feeling really good about work. Some good things are happening. So,
fantastic.
it's yeah. I'm feeling up and my health. Like I wouldn't have imagined like gardening. Man, that is energetic.
Yes.
So yeah, keep me
We are
fit.
officially old at this point, I think, Melanie Farmer.
You get excited about growing herbs. You know that that's a step away from having a cup of tea while you watch the herbs grow.
Yeah, a very short step away. Okay, super cool. So we're not here to talk about herbs. We're not here to talk about my desk. We're not here to talk about 2023 necessarily. We are here to talk about marketing news. So, what has caught your eye, Melanie Farmer? What's going on that you think is interesting and that people should know about?
Whew, what a couple of months it has been in the world of marketing. A couple of things I'm looking at. One is what's happening in the UK, where the Prime Minister is trying to put CEOs in jail when their platforms, social media and so forth, fail to protect children from online harm, and in particular when that leads to suicide. So the idea that you could jail a CEO for um, for content that should have been vetted, that's a bit of a different move, particularly in the UK.
Yes.
So there's a lot of freedom of speech stuff going on over there with bills being put forward and so forth. The second story is the inevitable story about Elon Musk, which sort of comes up all the time. But um, the interesting, like him being in court, this is just from 3 days ago, where he told a jury on Friday, well, he was trying to defend his tweet, which was quite misleading, suggesting that he had already secured funding for a Tesla, and he actually hadn't. And then a lot of investors, of course, started making decisions, assuming that it was true. So he had not followed the legal rules around how you might make announcements about selling a company or taking
Oh,
investment.
okay, cool. Well,
Um,
we'll get into that.
Yeah, and then the third one is about teenage data. So Meta, parent of Facebook, announcing that they are going to shield teenagers from advertisers to avoid certain targeted ads. And I guess that they're specifically talking about gambling and alcohol and that sort of thing. Um, yeah, so there's some interesting nuances to that story as well.
Okay, super cool. I've also got three stories. My first story is from the New York Times, and the headline is Google calls in help from Larry Page and Sergey Brin for AI fight. So, this is about the fact what's gone on while you've been on your holidays is that ChatGPT has happened and it is amazing. It's ridiculous. I've done a review Google are concerned about the AI fight that's going to go on between them and ChatGPT. My second story is from BBC.com, and it's about Google's parent, Alphabet, cutting 12,000 jobs. But that really goes into my third story, which is from Marketing Week, is how the headline is Chief Growth Officer among most in-demand roles for 2023. So those three things I think are kind of connected. So that's kind of what I'm interested in. So we need to prioritize these things, don't we? What do we think is the most important of those 6 stories? Where do we start?
Jeez.
Which do you think is the most important of your 3 stories? We'll start with that one, I think.
For me, it's probably putting CEOs in jail.
Good. Putting CEOs in jail. That just has a beautiful poetry to it, doesn't it?
I feel like that's got your attention, isn't it?
Yes. Okay, good. So here we are. Tech bosses could face jail as the UK government backs down on online harm. The government has. Well, do you want to tell us what's going on with this story?
Yeah, look, this is, and I thought I'd just reference the source Al Jazeera, who I don't normally go check out, but I thought it's interesting to see what their take on this story was. So what's happening in the UK? There are some side stories around this where freedom of speech. Rowan Atkinson, if anyone's a fan, made a fantastic speech about freedom of speech. But anyway, that aside, this story is about platforms such as social media apps and platforms taking responsibility for having content that may negatively influence particularly children or teenagers and lead them down a path of suicide at worst and self-harm. And so there's a new online safety bill that has been introduced by the Prime Minister, and there have been some tweaks already and a lot of pushback and so forth. But really, it's saying that if these CEOs willfully ignore or don't act in good faith, you can see it's just saying that they willfully ignore the rules where it comes to constraints around content, and they're listing, of course, their TikTok, YouTube, all of these, that if in the event that can be linked to a suicide of a child or a teenager, that CEO faces, I think it's 3 months in prison. And so, I mean, I think in essence, it's highly unlikely that anybody will end up in prison over this, but I think it is putting a big spotlight on the fact that there needs to be some accountability around, what content is allowed to go online.
Yeah. So who are the CEOs? Are we talking about the CEOs of Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and those businesses? Are we?
Well, those CEOs don't, I guess, reside in the UK. So I would imagine, and I haven't got the full detail here, that it would be those domiciled in the UK. So more likely the managing director at a country level, or the CEO at a country level, who's allowing, because these laws are UK laws. There may be different laws in other countries. So what it's doing is saying that within the UK, if this content is making its way to UK children and teenagers and damaging their, their health, then there needs to be consequences at the highest level. And I guess that what has happened historically is that you could create a situation with a fall guy or girl, and you say this person put that content up there, and then that person allowed it from my marketing department, whatever. So the message from the PM is the CEO is going to jail over something if that can be linked. But you can imagine how challenging it would be to make the link that this content has led to a suicide.
Yes. Well, this is interesting, isn't it? Because the platforms hide behind the fact that they are just the communication channel and they're not publishers. But I think we've seen enough evidence to know that they are deciding what gets posted, what doesn't get
Yes.
posted. I think the interesting, exciting thing about what Musk is doing at Twitter is that he is just going to war with these things, and he is like more changes going on. You know, he just goes straight to the root and cuts out these issues. So we spoke, didn't we, a few months ago about the fact that Twitter were profiting from child pornography, which is just absolutely disgusting that they are, but nobody seems to care. So what's interesting to me about this, I'm only aware of this now, is that it's a political issue, and he's being forced to do this. It's not because he's a good guy. Literally, this could have been his first defeat on a bill in the House of Commons, but there are 50 lawmakers who said that they would oppose it if it wasn't stronger. It's aimed at making companies stamp out illegal content on their sites, such as revenge pornography and encouragement to commit suicide. The thing that frazzles my mind, and I talk about things that frazzle my mind all the time, like maybe my mind is easily frazzled, but who in their right mind is not interested in protecting children from revenge pornography and encouragement to commit suicide? What kind of world are we actually living in? You know, the environment for young people now is just so far removed from anything that makes any sense to me. It's just like, it's crazy. Like, Twitter are profiting from pornography. Everyone's like, yeah, okay, that happens. It's like, no, it shouldn't
Yeah.
happen. So
Mm.
why is society happy for our children to grow up in this clearly toxic environment that is the online world? It, blows my mind. And and
Mm.
and the government of the UK wouldn't be doing anything about it, except for politically they have to, because they're not getting the support they need politically. It's disgusting.
Yeah, look, I mean, in essence, I'm happy that it's a story in the sense that there is a new bill that can be referenced, and it'll be interesting to see. Like, there's a sentence in here about 50 lawmakers from from his own party, and they may not be saying said they would support another amendment. Oh, sorry, there's lawmakers, not lawyers. Um, I would be interested to see whether this shows up in law, and see if there become some um, case law to
Yeah,
how is that going to play out? Because I think there is definitely something to be said for accountability at the highest level, which is missing, and it becomes very easy to not deal with that now. And I would say that, in defence of a big company, that, you are dealing with volume, you're dealing with the public, so um, the ability to monitor and understand that something is has not been given consent, and so some boyfriend and girlfriend have filmed each other, you know, doing the act, and then they've broken up, and then let's say the boyfriend posts that tape um, without the consent of the girl. That's the kind of thing that's happening all the time now. But how would they know, that is without consent? Certainly, why are they allowing anything like that to be posted full stop without evidence of consent? So there's a lot of, I guess, it's signaling that change has to happen about how content makes its way onto your site in the first place. And because these are global platforms, then there would need to be a globally impactful change. Um, and I think there should be. Like, I mean, there absolutely bloody should be. It's just horrific to think of what that might do to somebody's reputation, and also how violating.
and their
Just for
life,
that.
and how susceptible these people are already to suicide. I mean,
Right.
I had an amazing conversation with a guy called Frank King. It's coming up tomorrow on the Talk Marketing. He's a comedian and a suicide prevention speaker, and it was amazing. It was literally amazing. But there's 800,000 people a year globally commit suicide, and that isn't the entire number, because that doesn't include like opioids, over, what do they call that? When you overdose on opioids, because unless they leave a note, you don't know if it was a suicide or it was just an overdose.
So there's
So
known. So,
yeah. So I think above and beyond like the legal requirement, like you would hope that advertisers would say, we are pulling all of our content from your platform until you remove all of the child exploitation, child pornography, all of that stuff. But they don't. Do you know what I mean? So it should be beyond the legal, beyond the regulation, beyond the whatever. It should be, as
yeah.
human beings, children need to
Mm.
be protected, and anyone who is failing to protect children should be going to prison. So they may not be domiciled here, the CEOs of Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, but they are domiciled in the United States. And surely the United States and the UK, Australia, we have similar values, or we should
Yeah.
have a similar value, which is children should be protected from this absolute vileness. Do you know what I mean? And they certainly should not be the subject of this vileness. Yeah, I'm with
Yeah.
you. But I wouldn't even put them in prison. For me, it would be capital punishment. It would be immediately. You're happy for this to happen to children? You should be happy for it to happen to you. Yeah, and
I mean,
advertisers are, without wanting to get into a political conversation, they're very
yeah.
outspoken on what are much less impactful issues around, I don't know, all of the dozen things that woke people are really excited about. But when actual harm is being committed, they're nowhere to be seen, and this isn't the beginning and the end of it. We're talking
Yeah.
about slavery in the chocolate trade, in the mobile phone trade, in the all of children, and they're nowhere to be seen on these subjects. I could get very
And
angry
how
about this.
devastating that children, because of course they will find groups, for example, on Facebook or any other TikTok, which are instructing the value, benefit, and method of suicide. And so, the idea that that's cool is really quite worrying.
Or even
Um,
acceptable.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, not acceptable. And how you're creating a safe place to, to generate an increase in suicide. And by the way, in the last couple of years through COVID, the tracking of suicide, certainly in Australia, I don't know what the data is globally, but there was a big spike, not just in mental health, mental illness, but over in that 2020-2021 lockdown, the data is telling us in Australia that there was a spike in suicide. It's yet to be proven that it's attributable to the isolation we experienced and so forth, and the anxiety around job losses and all the other thing. But you would imagine that's probably what did it. Um, Lack of social connection. So, but a big spike in suicide, and and a very very big spike in mental illness. And in fact, funds for research and support services also spiked in response. So it's something that the government knows that this is the thing. But I think if you look at what is happening in parallel in the marketing platforms that we have, these social media, at least this is a signal about accountability, but it does look like they've kind of chopped the legs off it a bit, and there's not. But I would
Right.
like to see the first successful case tried where somebody is forced to take accountability. And I mean, I can see that coming, and this person becomes the evil purveyor of whatever, and they're just one of many. But I want to see that there are actual consequences, and I think that's what their intention is. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's shocking. It's just like you say, this unacceptable content. That's just it's not freedom of speech. It's unsafe, dangerous, and leading to deaths. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It's not freedom of speech, it's abuse. It's actual abuse, and it's actually profiting from abuse, and and it's abuse of the most vulnerable people in society, which are children. There's not enough going on to protect children, I think, in our society, and there should be lots more. Okay,
So I
I
think
think that's
an
a really
important story.
emotive.
Like started with it.
Yes, what a story that would be. But do you know what? Here's like, if you are a brand and you wanna pick up on a cause, there's a cause, wouldn't cost you any money. Do you know what I mean? You'd save some money on advertising to say, actually, we're not going to support this industry anymore. But you don't see brands doing it because, I don't know, these much more watered down for me issues get all of the attention, and in the meantime, actual people are actually suffering. Okay, let's draw a line and move on from that, because I think that's pretty emotive. I could get myself
Yeah.
cancelled. Okay, good. Right, so let's go to my, I think, most important story. This is a little bit reminiscent of the headline. Google calls in help from Larry Page and Sergey Brin for AI fight. A rival chatbot has shaken Google out of its routine, with the founders who left 3 years ago re-engaging, and more than 20 AI projects in the works. So this is about, I've highlighted this, I don't know why it's not, here we go. So last month, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, Google's founders, held several meetings with company executives. The topic, a rival's new chatbot, a clever AI product that looked as if it could be the first notable threat in decades to Google's $149 billion search business. The re-engagement of Google's founders at the invitation of the company's current chief executive, Sundar Pichai, emphasized the urgency felt among Google's executives about artificial intelligence and that chatbot, ChatGPT. The new AI technology has shaken Google out of its routine. Mr. Pichai declared a code red, upending existing plans and jumpstarting AI development. A moment of significant vulnerability for Google, because this thing, ChatGPT, is also, it's like a writing thing, and it's like a search thing. So, for example, this is what it looks like. So, for example, if I was to say, give me an outline for a 5-day training on biomimicry. I don't know if you've seen this. Have you seen this?
Oh, go on.
You ready to be astounded and amazed?
Yeah,
It goes like this. Thinks about it. Day 1, introduction to biomimicry. Right, so maybe I should move us. Can I move us? Where are we?
Wow.
So,
Holy. Day 4.
is that insane or is that insane?
Well, it's
Right,
not entirely like, there's obviously things, but yeah, that's incredible.
yes. Okay, so you're forging a career in biomimicry. You might want to put together a 5-day training.
Yeah.
There, in a minute, is a pretty useful, interesting starting point for a 5-day thing. And then you might want to think about, well, who are who should I research? So who are the leading thinkers in biomimicry? And it goes to work. There are several leading thinkers. Janine Benyus.
Yeah. Well, she has to be. She's.
Okay.
She's.
Michael
Yep.
Paulin, British architect and founder of Exploration Architecture. Dana Baumeister.
Yes, she's right up there with Janine. She's my lecturer.
Okay. Janine Benyus is there twice. Julian Vincent.
And yeah, there's a comment on how Dana and Janine work together.
Okay. Karim
It's
Khalifa.
incredible.
These are just a few examples, but there are many other leading thinkers in the field of biomimicry who are contributing in different areas and aspects of the field.
What?
So then so you're plugged in, you've gone shortcut straight into, like, this is the actual stuff. And then you might say, okay, well, what are the best case studies
Oh yeah.
for biomimicry?
What is this? What did you say? GPT?
ChatGPT, yeah. Everyone's been talking about this while you've been on your holidays.
GPT. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be talking about it.
Yes.
Goodbye, Google. What the hell? No wonder they're worried.
No wonder they're worried. So Velcro,
Yes.
Swiss engineer Georges de Mastral was inspired by the way birds stick to his clothes and his dog's fur to create Velcro. A hook and
That is true.
Sharklet
There's
Technologies, Sterling Engine, Zephyr Solar, biomimetic self-healing, kingfisher
Oh, good.
bird-inspired bullet train.
Yep, in Tokyo. Yep,
Melanie
these are
Farmer,
all ones.
this is insane. This is absolutely insane. So then you might say, okay, so now I know who the leading. I know I've got my 5-day outline. I know who the leading
Mm-hmm.
thinkers are. I know I've got some amazing case studies. So
How about
then you
tools?
can say, okay, a what?
Tools or methods?
Okay, so what are the leading methodologies in biomimicry?
So they should
And the
talk about
thing
the design
is,
spiral.
there are several methodologies that are commonly used in biomimicry. Some of the most notable include bioinspiration,
Yeah.
biomimicry design spiral,
Yeah.
nature-based design processes, life's
Yep.
principles.
Just working through those now.
Yes. So we don't have to wait. We can say what are the leading biomimicry tools.
And
Typing
that's
is the
going to
hardest thing I
include.
do in front of people. Leading
I think that's going to be,
biomimicry tools. It's only two
and
M's in
I think it's
biomimicry.
going to be Ask Nature is the number one. If they don't come up with Ask Nature,
Okay. Biomimicry scan. This is a tool used to identify potential natural solutions to design problem. Biomimicry design matrix.
yep,
Nature's playbook. Biomimicry framework.
yes,
Biomimicry design lens. Biomimicry innovation method. And and
yeah.
they're giving us information about this. Like, so biomimicry innovation,
That
a
tool,
method developed by Michael Paulin in which the process of biomimicry is used to generate innovative solutions to problems.
yeah,
So
and
then
the
we could
toolkit's
say,
amazing.
okay, we can say,
Seven,
okay, what is
right? Let's dive in and say,
biomimicry
show us.
and how does it work?
It's just freaking me out that you've gone, 5-day conference sort of training. Like, well, this is just going to save a lot of time. But of course, you're going to tweak that because you've got to think about what problems you're solving and who's the audience. But in general, every training should start with a definition and have some theory and applied. So there's
Yes,
things that that you need to do in that program no matter what.
yes. Now,
And then you
what's happened like, we've been on this for 5 minutes, have we? Like, this
right.
has just given us, what is that? 400 words on biomimicry innovation. That's just one of these 7 tools. So we could have 3,500 words on these biomimicry tools. We could have, there's 6 of these, 3,000 words on biomimicry methodologies. We know who the leading thinkers are. So then you might
Well, you
say,
also
I want to
put
write a
together
book on
recommended
biomimicry.
reading.
What's that?
Recommended reading.
Yes. What is the recommended reading
And I'll
on
tell you if I have these,
biomimicry?
because of course this is so fresh in my mind from the last month. Now it better say innovated by Barnett. Yep, good, Janine. That is the classic 97. Dana and William. Yes. Yes. Okay, so all of these are absolutely. Oh, but this what this tells me is that I'm studying in the right place because I have Dana and Janine as the creators and whatnot. That's who I'm studying under.
Okay, good. So you're getting some positive reinforcement. That's good. But what
Hmm.
this is telling the world is we might be the first people who've actually asked about biomimicry, and this is
Right, and it's like,
just
yeah, I got your
spitting
back.
out content. Do you know what I mean? It's
Here
like,
you go.
so it's all there. So then you might say, okay, I should write my own book, and you could say, give me an outline for a 60,000 word book on biomimicry. Mimicry.
This is way too much fun.
Isn't it
Like
way
this is
too much fun?
fun. It's kind of terrifying, and no wonder Google are like, holy crap.
Yeah. Well,
Concept.
because this is taking it to where it's useful. Do you know what I mean? We've just generated in 5 minutes. What do you think? 4,000, 5,000 words?
Yeah,
Well, not us, the tool. And the thing
yeah.
is, I think about this is clearly it's about what's it about? I mean, in 5 minutes, we've put together, we know who the leading thinkers are, we know what the leading methodologies are, we know what the leading tools are, we've got some great case studies, we've got an outline for a 5-day training. It's giving us an outline for a book. It's giving us the outline for a book. Do you know what I mean? Now,
I'll tell you what's missing. Like it is interesting because like when you look at AI versus humans, the one thing that's missing is anything about myth busting, which is a big so like what biomimicry is not, and people get confused. So biomorphism or morphics, for example, is where you make a building that looks like nature but in no way emulates it. Like it's inefficient, it's made of plastic, it's really, harmful to the environment, la la la. It might be beautiful, but it's not actually helping the environment, nor is it actually mimicking nature. It just looks like nature, right? And then there's biorobotics. Also, is not
yeah, but it's only because we haven't asked the question. We ask the question, it gives us the answers to those as well.
only about copying nature. Good, yeah, not about copying nature. It's about understanding the underlying principles that we're learning from nature rather than about it. Yep. Yep, there you go. There you got your key miss. So you would probably have to know that you need to ask that question.
Yes.
And that should be almost well early on in a book to say, because it's a new method or what. So people would be sort of going, oh well, I've made a something and it looks like a butterfly, and like it's not made out of spider silk and it's not biodegradable and such like. So that's the whole thing with biomimicry. It's like a holistic systemic approach to learning from nature and applying smart solutions based on nature.
Yeah, and
There
the
you go.
thing
Now,
is,
it's
because
exciting.
I'm thinking about writing a book, so I'm thinking like this: is like, what are the components of a book? Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So that's why, it's about the quality of the question you ask. It's 2,500 words we've created in about 5 minutes. So this is why Google are scared, rightly so, because what they do compared to what ChatGPT is doing, ChatGPT, and the thing is, this has gone on. Like somebody sent me a link to this in July, and it had $18 free, and I consumed 3 cents of it because it was junk. Do you know what I mean? And I'm saying to my friend Jim, who's a friend of the show, I'm saying to him, this is junk. It's not exciting. First week of December, this happened. It's amazing. And now, because of machine learning, it's taking all these responses, it's taking all of these questions, all of these answers, and it's now going to start teaching itself. So where is it going to be in May? Where's it going to be in August? Where's it going to be
Yeah.
in January 24? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it is insane. So all of a sudden, in the last 3-4 months, you'll see the AI generated images. AI has happened. AI has happened. And it's going to be
This
interesting. Everyone's,
this is like when voice commands happened, when Siri got her act together. Because
yes,
I never, you might remember when you very first went ask Siri, hey Siri, Siri would manage to tell you where a restaurant was, and that's about it.
yes.
Now I can get all sorts of oh,
And now
that's
she's helping you out right now.
yeah, thank you, SIRI. So but now full on recognition and instructions and usefulness. So I can
Yes,
ask her to play XYZ on, and she'll just know it's on Spotify, which I happen to use. She'll know where to find XYZ song. So I don't need playlists anymore. I don't need anything. I just go, oh, I fancy listening to this one song or that album. But
Yeah.
that was sort of overnight as well. So it's really, to me, this feels like what happened with voice commands. They were
Yes.
useless, and everyone rubbished them and said human beings are too complex, until they got a larger library of accents, which is
Yeah.
what they did, which meant that Alexa and Siri and all these others could understand all these different dialects successfully. Um, and now look at this. This is amazing. I'm going to spend my weekend looking at that, and I'm going to fail my degree because of, well, actually, you know what? I might do really well because of it.
Well, you might. And I think the thing that's actually missing is the the thing that's always going to be missing from artificial intelligence, the emotion, the empathy, the experience, all those things are going to be missing. But the thing that I think will always be missing, who knows, maybe it's not, is the nuance. Is the I'm like 95% of copywriters are now out of work. Anyone who is just producing bland copy about commodities is essentially out of work. Why would I employ that person and pay them whatever it costs them to when I can actually just produce the content about any subject in about 5 minutes? You know, why would I do that? So the opportunity for people like you and I is to look at this as the starting point, is to say, okay, I want to write a book about, mine's going to be listening, yours is going to be biomimicry. This is how I do it. Now, I know that I should go and read those books, and I should open my synapses, and I should allow myself to be thinking about what goes on. That's what's interesting and useful. Just the information on its own is really interesting and useful maybe, but it's not going to capture people's attention and their imaginations. And what it's not going to do is transform people to make a change in their lives, you know, which is what I think you actually have to be doing. But yeah, they're bringing in Sergey Brin and Mr. Page, and it is reminiscent of when Apple brought in Steve Jobs to rescue Apple. Here's what I think. You know what I think? I say it all the time. Google are offering nothing like the value that they could be offering. They could have done this a long time ago. You know, they are sitting on the world's
Mm.
data. And the reason they're not is because they're not customer focused. They are revenue focused. And so we could probably nail another one of my stories with these 12,000 people getting laid off from Google again. They shouldn't be laying people off. They should be leading us out. If we're going into a recession, everybody is going to need customers. If you are in the customer acquisition business, if you are in the business of providing people with customers cost effectively, then you shouldn't struggle. You know, you absolutely shouldn't struggle. But Google are, because either they don't know or they've forgotten that this is their core business, is actually generating cost-effective customers for their businesses. They are a marketing platform. And even the fact that they're excited now about ChatGPT coming through and they're seeing this as the threat and now they need to launch 20 AIs, this has got nothing to do with Google. I mean, it's a great search function and it gives it to you in a much more usable way, but it's not referenced. You know, you can't use this academically,
Mm.
essentially. But the fact that they feel threatened by ChatGPT indicates again that they're not actually
Yeah.
focused on their customers. There's a recession coming. Everybody's going to need customers. You are in the customer acquisition business, but now you're being distracted again by artificial intelligence and copywriting tools, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think, see, with Google having Google Scholar, where you can source, find, download many of the scientific papers on, say, biomimicry or whatever. So they have organised things in that way. So I can see ChatGPT starting to badge things like this is, you know, we'll show you 50 things and this thing is a referenceable such and such. So you could go and say, well, show me all the, you know, like grouped things, you know, group
Yes.
it so that I can go to the actual PDF and find the citation and whatever. So that, you know, people will want those things. Google's already done that. They've grouped things under Google News, Google Scholar, Google, you know, whatever, and weather, you know. So I don't know. I haven't engaged yet with ChatGPT. I imagine they've also got sort of, you know, some way of grouping these things as
Yeah.
for
Well, the
for
thing is,
this.
Google has some amazing tools, but there is no innovation. Like I use Google Keep a lot to like reference all these things, which is really
Yeah.
useful. There is Google News, which I use when I'm looking for stories to have around these conversations. There is Gmail, but when was there last like an innovation? When was there a step change in this
Like
is how
this.
it makes it better? Yeah, like this. So, for example,
Are
in
they?
this article, they're talking about Gmail. And so apparently Sergey Brin or Larry Page or one of them said they were showing them an update to Google, and they're like, well, that's stupid. Why doesn't it just write the email for them? When ChatGPT is doing that, people are building plugins which will automate your email responses. So instead of writing emails, you're now checking emails and they go. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's insane. Like the Google angle is interesting. I reviewed this like a couple of weeks ago. It's insane. Google should be worried, but not because they haven't got an AI copywriting tool, because they're laying off 12,000 staff, because they still don't seem to understand they are in the customer acquisition business. They are a marketing sales platform, and they're not doing a good enough job of that for customers. Now, when businesses need more customers than ever, that's what I think.
I wasn't expecting Google to be disrupted so soon
I
by
was,
something like this. It's yeah, you were, yeah. Um,
and hoping
so I mean,
also.
I'm wondering what's happening in the background because, like, the first port of call is acquisition, so and then emulation, which you don't want. You want to be in your own category.
No,
So I wonder what they'll do. It starts to make Google look like Microsoft when Microsoft is trying to, for example, MS Teams trying to follow Zoom, who suddenly came out of nowhere. Not quite, but So it
yeah.
does. It looks like, and you do not want to be in a land of emulation. You want to be creating category, not
You want to be
defending.
ahead of the curve. You don't want to be trying to catch up with these companies. Okay, good.
Mm.
All right, so there you go, ChatGPT. There you go. That will just elevate you and your biomimicry status. If I search in 6 months' time, I honestly expect Melanie Farmer to come up as one of the leading thinkers in the field of
Woo!
biomimicry.
Oh my goodness, going to write a book, eh? I'll just
Good.
get it to do it for me.
Yes. Let's go to your second subject. What's your second most
Oh,
important
there's two. They're
thing?
quite heavy, Martin. Let's try. I don't know if there's a light angle to this, but right. So the one
Let's
is gone.
Yeah, let's keep it. Let's get the heavy stuff done, shall we? We'll get the heavy lifting done.
Both
The
brilliant.
story about the headline, your story, Meta protects teens' data. What's
Yeah.
this about?
So this is a story from when is it? Just over a week ago, and it's about Meta slash Facebook changing their data access so that certain advertisers won't be able to advertise to teenagers in particular. And so they're just tightening that. So there's apparently a string of new measures, and these posts are being restricted by gender and age and so forth. But what is interesting is they're saying that the user's age and location would still be available if they were to, say, consume some data. So that means that if I was advertising to a group and some 14-year-olds, which I happen to be targeting, were in Sydney and they were clicking on the thing, and maybe the family organically, I'd be able to see that. But I wouldn't be able to have Facebook filter that audience for me and directly market to them. And the idea is that they're trying to hide explicit material and gambling and alcohol kind of thing. So it does look a bit light on, that's the only thing I would say, but it is at least some kind of a move in the direction of protection of young people, which is, building on the story that we touched on at the very start. And so it's just about not being able to show ads to teens, but it's not stopping the teens discovering that content anyway.
Yeah, I think that children should be off limits. Like, let's end the exploitation of children. Actually, children don't have money. So actually what you're doing is leeching adults' money anyway. I
Hmm.
think it really is time for a really different attitude. But it goes to, I don't know, it goes to like people are just so devalued, and children are so devalued. And I think it's time for a really different attitude where businesses that exploit children either for through advertising or through any of these other disgusting things that we've said, it should just be outlawed. And as consumers, we should, but we're not organised enough, I don't suppose. Yeah, it worries me because we know that this isn't because Instagram and Facebook are nice people. We know that they've just been done, haven't they, for releasing the contact details of, was it 1 million children in Ireland?
Yeah.
Through a hack. They got hacked. So it's not because these people are nice people. It's because they just got busted. They just got busted and fined for doing this thing. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't know what else there is to say about this.
Yeah. I would like to. I would like to feel that this was some accountability showing up, and I don't believe that that is the case. But and I also don't feel like it's really a strong enough measure because you're still going to be able to see who's consuming your ads effectively. How do these people find me? Because people will share, and I'll click on my friends thing and whatever. It's just an interesting. I just think how is it this stuff can be even seen when you're of an age? It should just not be able to be seen.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that it's about targeting them as advertisers, isn't it? So they're saying the move to tighter data restriction will still see some information being available for advertisers. From February, the gender and types of posts they engage with will be protected. However, young users' age and location will still be available. And it's the idea that we are spying on children so that we can advertise to them. That's what's
Yes.
going on. That's what concerns me. So we shouldn't do it, And the thing is, it's all very well Meta, Facebook, Instagram doing this right now. We know that Apple have taken them down at the knees. Do you know what I mean? They're not making this data available, or they're giving consumers the opportunity to not have this data. So, too little, too late, she cried.
There you go.
You don't
I
believe
agree.
you're good people, Meta and Facebook and Instagram. You're not good people. Okay, cool.
Yeah, there you go. Carry on. What? And you had another one?
I've got another one, yeah. So my other one is this one. Tickles me a little bit. Chief Growth Officer among most in-demand roles for 2023. New data from LinkedIn reveals growth marketing managers, and chief growth officers are among the roles most in demand. 2023 jobs on the rise list shared exclusively with Marketing Week, blah, blah, blah. The fastest growing market and sales job in the UK is customer success consultant, followed by sustainability manager, product operations manager, and sales development representative. In fifth place is chief growth officer, with growth marketing manager coming in seventh. In between the two growth roles is enterprise account executives. Sales and marketing roles are among the fastest growing jobs globally. Vice President EMEA and Latin America for LinkedIn Talent Solutions, Olivier Sabaya tells Marketing Week. In periods of uncertainty, it is easy for companies to become insular, but it is important to remain focused on customers, engaging with them, delivering value, and keeping your brand front of mind, he says, noting customer-centric roles are highly valued amid a global hiring slowdown. So part of me celebrates the fact that actually now our business is waking up to the fact that they really should just be delivering value for their customers. And part of me is astounded. I've never heard of a chief growth officer before. I researched this an hour and a half ago. And what does chief growth officer mean? Like, weren't marketing always responsible for growth and sales? Weren't they always responsible for growth? It feels to me like they want to cut out I tell people marketing is the investment you make in finding, winning, having customers profitably. And they just want to cut out the investment bit, and they just want someone to do the grow bit. And it just seems to me to be completely stupid and short-sighted and stupid. Because I have only worked in marketing for 25 years. I've only run my own marketing business for, 18 years this year. And I've never heard of a chief growth officer before. So where on earth are these chief growth officers coming from all of a sudden? Weren't they yesterday like just marketing people? And isn't it just Like, instead of changing the titles every 20 minutes, like moving the deck chairs on the Titanic, just understand that you need to make an investment in your business if you can have customers. That's it, Chief Growth Officer. Bollocks, I say.
I think we like to change words because it makes us feel good about ourselves, like something has changed, and
Yes,
therefore different things, different results will
yes,
happen. And but the other side of the word growth is you've got chief risk officers. So those two are really going to have a great time collaborating, aren't they? The chief risk officer and the chief growth officer, who have opposite mindsets. So you've probably
yes,
heard in business you've got a risk mindset and a growth mindset. Um, and depending on what's going on in the world, you'll adopt one or the other makes sense. So the fact
yes,
that they are signaling we are in a growth mindset because we've got a chief growth officer, then new recruits might feel, oh, good, that means my job's going to be a bit more secure for 2 minutes because they
yes,
have a growth mindset. Um,
yes,
but I don't. Yeah, I mean, it's just like any field of endeavor. We have a favorite word, and then it probably lasts a decade, maybe less these days, and then it's old news, and we don't want to hear it anymore. But I don't think 10 years from now we'll be using the word woke, for example. It'll be something similar, but not that word. And 10 years ago, we didn't know the word woke. We had other words that meant the
yeah.
same thing. So we just change words because we like to feel that we're evolving and it's a safe way to do it, I think.
Okay. Except I would say this doesn't happen with anything like the regularity in any other function in business other than marketing. Businesses are failing because they don't understand what marketing is, and they don't understand that they have to invest in marketing, and etc., etc., etc. So what does marketing do that about that? It changes the phraseology again. So it used to be marketing, now it's growth. Do you know what I mean? But nobody knew what marketing was. So it only ever becomes more and more confusing. And they are moving the deck chairs on the Titanic. It's marketing, it's sales. When everyone understands that, maybe we can start freestyling with the vernacular. Do you know what I mean? Then that would be cool. But this is just more obfuscation from the marketing and sales industry. It's like chief growth officer. Where does it come from? Who cares? On the other side of that, I applaud this 100%. Now is the time to invest in growing your business, in having more customers more profitably, because what's going to happen is that the economies are going to become much more dynamic. There's going to be movement. There's opportunity in movement. You will have competitors who will go out of business. Their customers are going to be looking for new suppliers. They should be finding you. So 100%, if we are going into recession, I don't know if we officially are or not. I think we officially were, but then they changed the definition. So maybe we're not anymore. In these recessionary times, this is when you push your pedal to the metal. This is when you drive hard, because you will pick up new customers more cost effectively now than at any other time in any other kind of economic cycle. But you don't have to now go out and employ a chief growth officer, actually invest. Because the other side of this is they say, marketing people are the first people to go in a recession. So maybe they're avoiding that and saying, okay, we're not looking for marketing people now. We're looking for chief growth officers. Frazzles my mind,
And
Melanie
it,
Farmer.
it is what I think is interesting about this is it is an outcomes title. So does that mean that a chief risk officer will become a chief safety officer? So that person's title signals the outcomes we're looking for, which will be safety. And so then we need to change all titles to reflect outcomes focused titles. And this again is another way to spend a lot of time naming things. My title, Concierge of Co-Creation, is a mystery to quite a few people. But it's what you do with it that counts in the end. So
It's a
if you're adding
conversation
value,
starter apart from anything else, your title. But the thing is, this is why I dig to have these conversations with you, is because you think about it differently. Um, Outcomes, is it outcomes based? I think it's interesting. I don't think it matters so much what people are called. I think it matters what they do. Sales for me seems to be a stupid title. Don't put sales on your business card. You might as well write, please don't like me, because people don't expect to get ripped off by salespeople. So it's interesting, but it's not. I've never heard of it. Do you know what I mean? How that no one can be having a career as a chief growth officer, or else I would have heard of it. Do you know what I mean? That's what blows my mind. So where are these people coming from? They're coming out of the woodwork. Okay,
Someone has
good.
gone and shoved the word marketing into a thesaurus, I think. We
Yes,
could
that's
ask
what's going on.
GPT. I'm sure it would tell us the history of this title, but let's not do that right now, eh?
Hey,
Spend
let's
half
go
an
on
hour
to
down
our last story, Shall we? So your last story is it wouldn't be
our
effective
favourite person.
marketing news without something about Mr. Musk. So let me
And
zoom out of
uniquely
that a little bit.
from Al Jazeera.
Also,
Just
you have you been what's the word? Oh, what is the word? How's my mind? Um, what's the word? Anyway, let's. It'll come to me. Musk on trial says his tweets don't always affect Tesla stock. Just because they tweet something does not mean people believe it or will act accordingly. The Tesla boss told the jury. Elon
right.
Musk, Tesla. Okay, you tell us what's going on here.
He tweeted sometime in October. I think it was sometime late last year, before this trial anyway. He tweeted, "Am considering taking Tesla private at 420, full stop, funding secured." Now, that wasn't quite true. And you can imagine if Elon Musk tweeted such a thing, you start to sort of make decisions if you're an investor, or that you work for Tesla and whatever. Now, the he's in court because they're saying that you did this. It was misleading. It wasn't how you go about seeking funding to do anything like this sort of behaviour. And he's saying, "Oh, not everyone believes me on Twitter," and that acts on it. So his defence is that the audience realise that that it's fictional. I don't know. That Twitter is a fictional consumption platform. That's his defence. That we all know and trust that it may or may not be, real, which is
Okay.
it's a pretty weak defence in my opinion. But his thing is literally, just because I tweet something doesn't mean people will believe it and will
Yes.
act. But of
Yes.
course they will. Of course they would take this seriously, that he is saying that he's got funding secured, which wasn't actually true.
Yes.
So
The
I just yeah, go on.
Okay, so sorry, you say what you were going to say, and I'll say what I was going to say.
I feel like this is another accountability moment. It is interesting that it's on his own platform now, Twitter, which it wasn't at the time he tweeted this. But um, this is people's money and lives, and there's a way to go about selling your company if we're going to do all that. So I think that it is a direct impact. I think you need to be responsible for um, for people who've given you their money,
Yes.
and this is really reckless, I think, with people's money, because it might change the valuation of, like, if I had put, let's say I had $1 million, I put it into Tesla and he tweets that, my $1 million might suddenly plummet down, or it might go through the roof. But either way, he hasn't consulted me. I've got no warning. I can't make decisions about it. He's just put it on Twitter. So I think it's reckless. And I do think he needs to be held to account for that kind of thing. If everyone could do that, and it's not, I don't think it's freedom of speech. I think it's like, freedom to just play with other people's money like it's monopoly. And there's a lot of people's lives tied up in Tesla. And, his tweet led to it going through the roof in valuation, in fact, is what my understanding is, but falsely so. So, that's all. I just think a bit reckless, should be a bit more responsible. And I think it's appropriate that somebody in that position, who's had that impact, should probably at least be held to account to consider the impact of their actions, whoever they are.
Whoever they are, even if they are Elon Musk. Okay, so here's what I think. This is what is known as the Rachel Maddow or the Tucker Carlson defense. So basically, you can say whatever you like on the news, on the whatever, and your lawyers turn up in court and say, "Oh no, everyone knows that this is fiction. Everyone knows that these are making it up." Do you know what I mean? So nobody takes this seriously, so it can't have had an effect. Um, the thing is that Elon Musk has previous, doesn't he? I mean, he is an extraordinarily influential person. So the big example was Dogecoin, wasn't it? Where he said, "Everyone, let's do Dogecoin." Everyone did it. Lots of people, it went up in value hugely. Clearly, lots of people will have made money. Clearly, lots of people will not have made money. I think this is like securities type stuff because it's insider trading, isn't it? It's basically saying, "I'm going to do this thing." Everyone responds. But then he doesn't do it necessarily, and it costs people money. The thing is, we've got now Logan Paul has cost people with his Zoo coin. I don't know if you've seen this thing. Literally cost individuals millions of dollars because they invested in his cryptocurrency. It feels to me like the world's gone mad. When I collect content, sometimes there is a category called "World's Gone Mad" where it's just got examples of things that are just completely stupid, shouldn't happen. I don't know what the answer is. People, this is where we've got to with the state of media. Is like some people have access to tens of millions of people, and some people pay a lot of attention and react to what it is that they say, and that has a material effect on people's financial well-being and arguably their well-being. And this is where we've got to with the platforms that we use in marketing to find or attract, win and keep customers profitably. I don't know what the answer is, Melanie Farmer, but I just know that it's not going to stop. And I think we're seeing a slightly alarming trend towards people with this huge audiences and influence just ripping people off and not actually giving a shit about people at all, you know, their followers, the people they're supposed to care about.
I mean, I see it as an opportunity to think about my own responsibility because I can't be dealing with other people's because I don't see, like at the moment, with it.
Yes.
But it does. It's a takeaway for me to say that's interesting. I can take a lesson to say, am I being responsible? And I believe that I am, and so forth. But when it comes to online and all of this, but you know, if I can at least start with myself, um, that's one person,
Yeah.
and there are things which can really, you know, when I'm at that point that I've got several billion and whatnot, I would hope that I would take some responsibility about it. It is worrying to me, and I'm
Yeah.
glad that he's in court, at least having the discussion.
Yeah, but he's always in court. I think this is a feature of being rich is that you are always in court. You know, this is why when you're rich, you have to have lawyers. The thing is, if you were able to, because I'm sensing a movement where people are enjoying Elon Musk a lot much less. I feel like you might be in that camp. But can you imagine being Elon Musk and you can sit there and you can write a tweet on your phone? He could be sitting on the toilet. He could write a tweet on his phone and he'll think, this could make me millions of dollars, or this could affect millions of people. Like, do you have the fortitude to not send that tweet? Do you know what I mean? Do any of us? So I think there
Right?
is
Yeah.
an issue. Yeah. Like, could you resist the temptation? Like, they say that he's not particularly interested in attention, but he certainly profits from the attention that he gets. I thought this was going to be about. So the share price went up because they thought there was going to be a forced buyout. So it actually probably generated him billions of dollars at a point in time where he could really use the billions of dollars because he was going to be forced to overpay now to buy Twitter. You know, it's like, could you resist the temptation to do that? And is this the worst example of this happening? Because I would say Logan Paul is worse because he has cost individuals like millions of dollars. But at the same time, those people invested those millions of dollars should also take some responsibility. And maybe individuals shouldn't pay so much attention and give so much credence to what people write in their tweets. Maybe that's the lesson.
Well, that is also true. But this guy's his own bull and bear market, isn't he? He's like Wall
Yeah,
Street
yeah.
on his own. Because he can just influence the value of a particular share by having it,
Yes.
voicing an opinion about it, and then, you know, the world responds. That's quite terrifying to think that he can. It's
Yes.
like a world, you know, he's the puppeteer, and I like the fact that there's at least an attempt to have him go through an awkward conversation, if nothing else, in court. Who knows what's going to happen at the end of it? But you know, it is.
Nothing's
Um,
going to happen. It's all part of the soap opera.
oh
It's
yeah, yeah,
all part of the soap opera. And I don't think he's the puppet master. I don't think, but his
no,
audience
no,
are people who spend money on shares, and they're people who spend money on cryptocurrencies. And so every time he says something, it has an effect. And the thing is, I think if that were me, I'd be 100 times worse. Do you know, every 20 minutes it'd be like,
oh,
why
well,
doesn't
yeah.
everyone send me $1? And then, do you know what I mean? It's like, you know,
And then what
like
I'll
with
do is
power
this, and then
comes great responsibility, but like
yeah,
he hasn't asked for the power. Do you know what I mean? He's maybe earned the power is the right word, or the power has come to him. I think I'd be worse if I was Elon Musk. I honestly think I'd be worse. I'd be every
you
20
know
minutes.
what you.
I'd take a share that was a cent and say this share's amazing. I'm going to spend $1 million on this share now. So now I've got whatever that is, 100,000, no, $10,000 worth of shares. Everyone goes out, but you just need. Do you know what I mean? And that share price goes up. The thing is, it's a feature of the way media is working in
Yeah,
2023, and
yeah,
not necessarily a feature of his personality that he's doing this. And I think,
yeah,
in terms of just being rich, you are in court all the time. That's the way it works.
and we don't make rational, logical decisions where it comes to investment anyway. We never
No,
ever have. It's
no,
fictional to think that we don't make emotional decisions around investment. We do,
yeah,
and so this is just happening overnight. So that's an interesting twist on things because it used to be a little bit more like,
yeah.
uh,
It would be over a
not,
period of time.
right?
But the
Yeah,
thing
you're not
is,
reaching people overnight.
what better um, what better reason is there for investing in a cryptocurrency than Elon Musk has just told everyone to go invest in this cryptocurrency? Yeah, 100% demand for that currency is going to go up, and the value of it is going to go up. And I know people who've made money just by following Elon Musk. You know, so yeah, I don't think he's the bad guy that you seem and the world seems to want him to be right now. I
You
think,
know, I think there's a lot of worship of Elon Musk, and I hopefully am putting in some other ideas. But I am very happy. I would rather it was Elon Musk than many others. So, for example, the fact is that as a result of his tweet, Tesla electric cars have significantly benefited. I, having
yes,
just bought my hybrid car, wonder if Toyota would have invested as heavily in building that nice hybrid car so I can save the planet if I'm going to drive a car at all, um, without this, all of this around electric cars. So I I think of all the people who are going to be a bit mad in this area, it, there's this um, you know, appetite for the sort of products that he's coming up with, the solutions, the efficiency, you know, things like PayPal, things like Tesla. These are fantastic. These are fantastic projects. So I'm glad it's him and not maybe others. But you know, it's interesting because Apple nearly went bust in the is it 90s, 80s, 90s, and then Bill Gates came along and gave Steve Jobs $150 million. He's not that widely known to invest in Apple. And so there's always been this idea that there's this rivalry between Apple and Microsoft, but there's so much co-investment
yeah,
between
yeah,
them. You know, it's like they would have gone bust. Now, Bill Gates could have gone brilliant, see you later, but he didn't buy them or anything like that. He didn't let them go bust. He gave them $150 million to keep on going, and of course is benefiting directly from that. So it is very interesting what's actually happening by the collective puppeteers, if you like, and what we think is reality at the front line. and who hates who and what's actually happening.
It's all just stories, Melanie Farmer. It's
Yeah,
all just
yeah.
stories. And you know what?
You're
It's a soap opera, and the soap opera needs its villains, and it needs its good guys, and it needs the good guys to go bad and the bad guys to go good. And this is the whole story. So this is what's going on with Andrew Tate. I don't know if you've missed this, but he's like the media needs these
Oh,
personalities,
the
these
influencer
characters.
who, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
however
going
you
to be a
feel about that, this is the game we play. I think if we are in the business of sales and marketing, we play these games.
yes, we do. Yes, we do. There you go. So, yeah,
Did we
big
get to the
big
end?
boss. I think we did. We did it.
Brilliant work. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I always do. I really hope people get as much satisfaction out of listening to us as we do having these conversations. And maybe they could let us know. So we did get to the end. Is there anything you haven't said that you would like to say, Melanie Farmer?
Well, I guess I'd just say if there's anything you want us to talk about,
Let us know, yeah.
that you think that we have completely missed the boat on, we'd love to know that, wouldn't we?
Yeah, because over Christmas, when over Christmas, I don't know if you get this, I always get like really good ideas of things that I should be doing right in that moment, but then just don't do anything. But I was thinking it'd be really cool. I was going to get somebody else in to replace you to do a review of like 2022 and look at all of the news stories that we'd looked at. But we did that kind of in December, didn't we? And we were pretty much on the money. We were covering the things that the media, the paid media, the mainstream media were covering. So I think we do a pretty good job.
That's true.
So the last question is there anything you've said that you feel you shouldn't have said?
Are you trying to make me accountable for my own
I'm trying to
flaws
get you
here?
to say something interesting so that we go viral.
Oh yeah,
Don't say
my
it, Melanie Farmer. Don't do it.
farm's going really well.
Super cool. Okay, brilliant. So we got to the end. So we just need to let people know if you found this interesting or useful. Like, share, comment, subscribe, get involved, because we need motivation to keep on this epic journey. We don't really. We're having so much fun. It doesn't matter. But if you do find it interesting and useful and you can support us in some way, that would be amazing. Okay, I'm going to put something in your calendar for 2 weeks today, Melanie Farmer, if that's cool. And I will look forward to seeing you then.
Yay!
Thank you for taking the time to check out this episode of Marketing News. If you found this interesting and useful, then YouTube thinks you're also going to enjoy this, and this is the latest thing that we've produced. If you haven't yet, and you could take a second to like, share, subscribe, and comment, get involved, that will give us the motivation to continue on this epic, epic journey.